There are times that I'm glad that you jump on the show every once in a while, Nikki, because usually during that time is when Michael does something very obscene that makes me just, lose face and just bust out laughing. Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of From My Mother's Basement, the show that basically celebrates being a geek. I'm Jason, and joining us is our good friend Nikki. How are you doing this week?
Pretty good. I was worried. For a second you started talking and there was no sound. And I was like, oh no, not again.
Oh, come on. It wouldn't be this show if we didn't have some sort of technical difficulties.
Well,
Yeah, true. So what have you been up to, Nikki, with this past week?
Not too much. I'll be honest, I'm pretty boring. As soon as Michael left town, I made a pot roast so I wouldn't have to cook for like 3 days. And then I sat on the couch.
That's called being smart. You have the house to yourself. Kickback mode is engaged.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I've been kind of busy myself, but partially be blamed because of you. Because you and Michael gave me this.
Oh yeah, that. How's that going for you?
Well, I'm because I've read the first book.
Okay.
I'm rereading it because I don't remember everything about it. So I was like, okay, this is good times and whatnot. I'm telling myself I need to finish the books before I can actually continue on watching the Game of Thrones show. Just so I can be that nerd and point out the massive inaccuracies and changes. You know what's going to happen anyways.
Yeah, that's true. I read the first book. I have the second book, but I haven't started it. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, by the end of the first book, I was so just devastated that I'm like, I don't want to live. I don't want to read this anymore.
It's one of those. Yeah, true. Yes, Game of Thrones is one of those you look at it and go, you either really love it or you're just, leave it at that. All right, well, let's move on to some quick movie news before we jump into the comics, which is going to be the bulk of tonight's episode, plus us laughing at Microsoft, but we're going to save that to the very end. Yes. Let's showcase a trailer for an upcoming movie that, to me, just came out of left field. I was not expecting this. I heard nothing about this beforehand, nothing about the company making the announcement, nothing who's working on it. It was just wake up one day, look at my typical sites, and go, that's a thing? Oh, okay, I guess this is a thing. What I'm talking about is the Lego Movie. And I'm just going to play the trailer because it just needs...
I thought that was a joke in the show notes.
No, it's not. It's a legit trailer for a legit movie with the Lego God voiced by, and they got this part right, Morgan Freeman.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so let's watch this.
Oh my god.
That is a thing!
The Batman scene.
That
sold me on it right there. Although the gallery of all the other agents, little Lego people, was pretty damn funny too.
Yeah, I saw this the other day and I went, this has to be, some guy's, fantasy movie or whatnot. No, it's legit. That's hosted on Warner Brothers' official YouTube site, and yeah, this is crazy. Now, I remember Warner Brothers made the announcement they were going to work on a Lego movie years ago, like good 5-6 years ago, but they haven't mentioned jack all since then. And then we finally get that.
I would assume if I heard from Warner Brothers that they were working on a Lego movie, I would think kind of like the Ninja Go or whatever the little Lego cartoons are.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, I'd expect like a 2-hour version of that for kids. That reminded me a lot of, Wreck-It Ralph.
It did. It really did.
That sense of humor and playing off the things that everybody remembers that fall within that genre.
Oh, I mean, most people alive today, the younger generations have played video games. Everybody and their mother and their stepbrother and everybody's played with Legos.
Definitely.
I mean, the nostalgia factor alone is above Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, I could see that.
I do like the fact that it's not smooth animation, not 100% smooth animation. They made it look like it was still done in stop motion, even though you can tell everything was in CG.
Yeah.
So that was a nice touch. And given the fact that Lego has so many license rights with so many organizations worldwide, it can't really cost that much to incorporate all these other people into this movie. Like I said, the Batman thing was probably the best part of it.
For that trailer, as a comic girl, yes, I laughed.
I look at this going, okay, this could be cool. And then they brought like the voice cast out. I mean, start off with, God, I guess. He played by Morgan Freeman. The main character, the I forget what they're calling him, is actually led by Guardians of the Galaxy frontman Chris Pratt. That's kind of a nice little bit right there. But then I saw another name in there. I mean, there was a few others that I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But there was just one that I was like, okay, I need to see what his role is, and that's Liam Neeson.
I was going to say, was it Liam Neeson? Because I'm waiting for the scene with the little Lego dude on the phone with somebody.
I have a very particular skill set.
Exactly.
So, it could be fun. I'm hoping it'll be fun. I mean, we still have a good year to, a little less than a year to wait. This comes out next February 7th, 2014.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I came across that and went, yeah, we kind of have to share it.
Yeah.
It was kind of needed. There was one other movie trailer that was recently released that I do want to show, that we've talked about on the show before, and in part and partial due to Studio Amagi's closing, because they were working on a CG Gatchaman movie, and the trailer they created for it back in 2007 was incredible, and I was looking forward to it. And then, of course, they closed down, so the rights reverted back to the companies in Japan, which announced they were making a live-action version. And there's a teaser trailer that's been out for a few months now. We've seen it, and we're like, okay, it could be good. But then they came out with an actual full trailer. And it just looks fun. So let me go ahead and play them. We'll discuss our views of it afterwards. What are your thoughts, Nikki?
Well, go Power Rangers for one.
Yes, that's very Sentai-ish.
It's like Power Rangers Year Zero. I like that the helmets were designed well. I mean, those are some of the better helmets I've seen. You didn't really get to see them too well from the neck down.
No.
But for some reason, it just felt like Power Rangers, especially when the evil, Maleficent-looking queen with the head thing walked out. And I was just like, oh, villain of the week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Gatchaman, even back in the day, in the early 70s, I mean, this is all classic Sentai stuff. This, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, it all has that same vibe, just different outfits and different, they're all with, massive explosions while they walk away from them. But, that's par for the course. I look at it, and it definitely has that live-action anime feel to it. I think it's close. It feels closely related to Godzilla Final Wars. Did you ever see that one?
Hello, I own it.
Okay, good.
How could I not?
This is very true. I think it's one of the quintessential Godzilla flicks, because it had that just that right tone of epic fight scenes over the top that you can do with modern filmmaking techniques, and then enough of that classic nostalgia throwback.
Yeah.
I think this one might hit that mark, because I watched reruns of Gatchaman back when it was called Battle of the Planets when I was very, very young.
Yep.
So to see this, I'll definitely go see it. I highly doubt it'll be shown stateside in many theaters, if at all. But at least I'll pick up the DVD.
It'll probably be like the Madoka movie, where maybe the downtown LA theater will show it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think there's an independent theater in Santa Monica that I saw the Cowboy Bebop movie back in early 2000s?
Oh, like the Arrow Theater or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see something like that. Maybe the local Japanese film festivals will pick it up or something like that. Like I know there is a Japanese film festival in San Francisco that made the announcement that they are premiering Ava 3.0 at the end of July. Tickets are available now.
Shit.
Are we making a trip to San Francisco?
Well, I have the time off. I could theoretically do it.
Yes, I will drive. We'll go.
Yeah, I don't think we want me driving after that last incident.
A little inside baseball. I apologize, folks, but man, that was funny as hell. Okay. But that's all the movie stuff we wanted to talk about. I was keeping it brief because we wanted to get into the comic news. And before we jump into like what's new, what's coming out, we want to talk about a new comic that's in the works. Well, you can't really call it new, can we? It's more of just a continuation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be fair.
Yeah, this is the announcement was made about a couple weeks ago, and I got some more information recently for a continuation of the Justice League's comics called Justice League 3000. Instantly, that title reminds me of the Conan O'Brien skit from back in the day. But this one, obviously, you take all the main characters from Justice League, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, was it Green Lantern, Flash, the typical the DC crew.
Yeah, it's the main core.
And this takes place in the 31st century sometime. And here's the odd thing, though. We'll get to the character designs in just a moment. But DC wants this to be in the continuity of the whole DC universe. I'm like, this is 1,000 years in the future. Have you already planned out what's going to happen in the next 1,000 years? How many reboots are you going to do?
Well, not only that, but most of the teams, from what I gather, don't really know what each other are doing. So when they killed off Damian Wayne, it was like everybody had to rush to write in the Requiem story arcs to their titles. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they have that far planned out. They maybe have a couple of story arcs ahead, and that would be about it. Especially because in the industry, what I'm learning more about is it's all freelance work.
Right.
So you may be only contracted to do a run of so much, then you're dropped, and the next guy comes in and picks up.
Which can lead to some very interesting story tangents at times. And that could easily alienate fans. The whole fact of having comic books in the future like that, I'm personally a fan of them when they're done well, when they're done right. What's your favorite style? Would you prefer something like this in terms of like a futuristic sci-fi for Justice League, Nikki, or?
Not necessarily, because I'm not, as surprising as it is to say, because I read so many different comics, I'm not a sci-fi person. Mm-hmm. So for me, I like the more current genre, where they keep it in the current timeline, or when they go back and tell earlier stories. So the whole Batman arc, where it was the Court of Owls, or the Bridges of Gotham, those stories were really interesting, and I really enjoyed them. But when you start going too far in the future, you start bringing in all sorts of technology that at this point isn't even plausible, then I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. He flies. Wasn't that, outrageous enough? Why do we have to have all this extra stuff?
And of course, given the fact that this is supposed to take a millennia in the future, they're going to radically alter the outfits. I mean, like, here is supposed to be Superman, which is very militaristic.
The thing that kills me about Superman is I'm okay with the cape forming the S like a connector plate. His hair, that's just super dorky.
That little curly Q at the end. I mean,
it reminds me honestly of 1940s hair during World War II, when they would buzz their entire head except for the bangs and then slick those back. That's what it looks like to me. Only he's mid-flight, so they're standing straight up.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, the other one, that caught my eye was Batman. And when you think futuristic Batman, for at least me, my mind instantly goes to Batman Beyond, the animated series. And this ain't Batman Beyond, except for like the color scheme.
Honestly, I could see this as current day Batman. Nothing about this really screams futuristic to me.
Mm-hmm.
This just looks like a revamp of Bruce Wayne's outfit.
That's true. There's nothing really uber futuristic about it. Now, that being said, I'm sure the writers will try to throw a bunch of stuff that's not even, like you said, not even plausible into this suit. But I guess that's just the part of it that they wanted to push on. I mean, here's another one with Wonder Woman, and she looks, to me, to be honest, with the hairstyle and the stance, almost feral.
Yeah, and her lasso suddenly has what looks like a flower at the end, which I'm sure they were trying to make a morning star, but
Yeah.
maybe they didn't want her to look too aggressive, so they made it a flower instead.
It's supposed to be like a mace at the end. I'm like, what?
Okay, I'll level with you right here. In middle school, as girls, we learned to draw those in class.
Mm-hmm.
That's a middle school flower for a girl. That's not a mace. That's not a morning star. It's a flower at the end of a glowing rope. I like the outfit change up because honestly, I'm not a huge Wonder Woman fan, and nothing they've rolled her in yet has appealed to me visually. Aside from the flower on a chain, I like her outfit. I think it's a step in the right direction for what I would personally like, but still, there's nothing futuristic about that. That's current.
True. I mean, it could be easily viewed as an idea for a costume piece for a live-action Wonder Woman TV series, which is actually fairly close to what it did look like.
Yeah.
Flash just looks odd. The way I look at it is, okay, he has typical red spandex. Okay, that's fine. But instead of having the mask, you have his bright orange and yellow fiery hair. And then he just puts on a handkerchief or a bandana around his lower half of his face, and that's it. Like, the only thing futuristic about it I could possibly see is actually the feet, the shoes, which leads me to question, is he has a superpower, or was he given this through technology?
Exactly. It looks like he borrowed his boots from Iron Man. His head from the shoulders up, that's like, club kid look right there. He's got the little goggles, so you've got your little steampunk raver going on. He bleached his hair out, and then he probably had blonde hair and tried to bleach it, so now it's orange.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just has a fancy bandana. He's got weird stuff coming off his hands, which I'm not quite sure if that's supposed to be an extra power. But again, this is just slapping some armor on what is pretty much his standard costume.
Like,
all they did was remove the hood with the little wings behind his ears.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the only ones that tried to do something universally similar with the costume outfit was actually for our last one, Green Lantern. And I gotta say, I actually like this design.
I do. I like it, but it doesn't scream futuristic. It actually screams Assassin's Creed to me.
It really,
with that whole design.
With like the tribal S tattoos, glowing green all over the black suit, and of course the green cape flowing into, was it just smoke? I guess you can probably look at it as.
Yeah, it's a nice design aesthetic. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily futuristic though, because again, we're looking at this big kind of tattered cape. That's not really something I would expect to see in the future.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's actually looking backwards, or even current day.
And I was just thinking about this, that if you just did a color mat over this and labeled it purple and swapped the gender, this could easily be like the emo young adult version of Raven.
That's true. Now that you mention it, that's true.
I just saw that and I went, okay, that could be interesting. But I look at this and I'm going, is something like this really necessary? Yes, I know DC did the whole New 52 thing. But is this DC trying to act more hip, trying to be more in tune with what all the current younger demographics want, because they're all too busy with their heads full of, images from, say, Marvel's The Avengers, the live action movie.
I'm not sure because what's happening is there's a lot of influence going back and forth between us and the Japanese comic industry.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these designs I could easily see in a manga as well, if you have more of a, more of a sci-fi manga.
True.
So I think it's a little bit of both of those cultures colliding, because what you're getting is the younger generation really isn't reading the comics that I would have read, say, in the 80s and the 90s. They more started out immediately with anime and manga, and now that they've seen the movies, they're starting to expand back into US comics. So it's that kind of meeting in the middle. And, it's the same for me. I look at stuff and I can see it in both pieces. I can see where an artist from Japan was reading a US comic and vice versa. So I think it's really becoming a melting pot. So I can see a lot of anime and manga influence in some of those outfits. So I think that's what they're trying to do is find that middle ground. Because wasn't one of the, I didn't get to watch it, one of the episodes you guys did recently, they're actually moving forward with the Marvel anime thing.
Oh, the Big Six thing?
Yeah, there you go, Big Six.
God.
That train wreck.
I was like, this has started to have inklings of Big Six, and I'm like, please, DC, no, you're better than this.
Exactly. And it's that level where they're trying to get into that demographic, because that's really when comics started struggling, that's what took off. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like we need to get some of this money back in. Well, how can we do it? Well, let's take some of that aesthetic and put it into our work.
True. I can only imagine what can come from all this, especially because the writing staff for, JL3K, they've done some incredible stuff with Justice League in the past. We have no idea how long they're going to be a part of this. Like you said, writing and drawing comics is not a guaranteed method of income.
No, it's not.
You could be on this comic and this great team could be on this comic for 10 issues, and then the higher-ups will go, and yank, give it to someone else. And everything you've worked on is now in the hands of someone else who may or may not care, and so as much.
Yeah, it's a very finicky industry. Wallace Palacio, which I don't think you got to meet him, he did a signing at the shop, and he's doing the Non-Human series right now. Mm-hmm. And he was a heavy hitter back in the late 80s and early 90s. He created the X-Men character Bishop, as well as the Wetworks comics when Image broke off and became their own company. Mm-hmm. But there was a point where it fell out from under him. And now he's back to doing, piecemeal work and going to cons and selling prints and stuff like that to get by. And I found out that he, like myself, is diabetic, so he's having to do all of this and struggle with those kind of medical bills. So it's the type of industry where if you're going to survive and you're going to make a living, you really have to have something unique to bring to the table, and you have to be able to perform every single time you're given a task to do. So there are the Scott Snyders and the Jim Lees who are always going to have work, but that's 2 out of how many people out there. Mm-hmm. George, his comic was picked up by Image in the very beginning. And what happened was they ended up getting dropped because the artists couldn't keep up with the deadlines. And they missed so many deadlines that they just let him go. So it's a hard industry, and ideas like this, they get announced, it may not end up going anywhere.
True, good point. Although I will have to say, DC's main competitor, Marvel, they with DC, I should keep with DC, sorry. With DC, when they did the New 52, they had a lot of flack, and some things flew and some things didn't. Though their latest idea, this giant omnibus one-shot that's going to come out in September, dude, I got to give them props. This could be an epic thing. I hope it's a continuation. So we were talking about, DC rebooted their entire universe with the new 52 in September of 2011, and in this September, they are going to release a giant omnibus one-shot. This omnibus is going to be fairly long, 1,184 pages, and it's simply titled Villains. What the idea behind this is, they are going to spotlight 52 of the DC Universe's biggest rogues in their own unique one-shots. So basically, what happened in the new 52 if all the heroes failed? What would happen? What would the villains do? I really like this. This is definitely thinking out the box. Well, at least I believe it is.
I think it's taking off, and I'm sure, I'm not saying this is where they got the idea, but they did something very similar with Arkham City, the video game. And it was literally a part of Gotham was walled off, and they just shoved all the criminals in there and let them run themselves, and they just do food drops and whatnot. So I think it'll be very much along the same vein, and it's probably going to be each of them setting up their own gangs in their area that they want to be in, and then battling for more turf from there. That's my guess. Now, they've done something like this once before. Recently, they gathered all of the Zero issues for New 52 and did one huge omnibus.
I remember seeing it at the comic shop. I was very tempted to actually pick that up.
I dropped it on my foot once.
Ooh.
Yes. It's a big book.
Yes, it is. I'm definitely curious to see how this is all going to pan out, because it starts in September. It's Villains Month. So all your favorite DC characters, all their comics are going to have a month-long series of spin-offs of showcasing the villains and what happens when the heroes all fail. Which would be curious to see what happens, especially in Batman, when Joker or any of the other villains kind of just take over and Batman's not there to save the day. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
The entire omnibus by itself, almost 1,200 pages, that won't be available until late December. So that's on my Christmas list right now.
If it's like the other one, it's probably going to be around, I want to say $150. So if you're getting it for a gift, that is somebody's big gift. That's the only thing they're getting.
Or you're very, very generous, which I can't afford that.
Exactly. No.
So I came across that. I think it's a great idea, and I'm hoping it comes to fruition, and it should be a hell of a lot of fun. Especially because to be honest, I'm more of a Marvel fan, and it's just only recently I started getting back into DC Comics, so I'm hoping that this will further my willingness to keep on reading DC Comics. So, of course, Nikki has a massive hand in that, so... I come over and she's like, here's a stack of comics that you must read, and I sit there till 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm going, ooh.
Well, I have to say, when I last read American comics before I came back in, I was a Marvel girl. I read the X-Men titles. I liked the Avengers. When I came back in, that whole sense of the fun of a superpowered being, it's still there a little bit, but it's not as strong. Now I root for the guys that don't really have anything, like Batman. It's his brains. He's got to do it all himself. Hawkeye, he does fall under Marvel, but he's not a mutant, or as DC calls him, he's not a metahuman. I just find they're a lot more interesting character-wise to see how they have to deal with all this. And I'm also reading a lot more of the indie comics, where it's like it may not even have anything to do with that. It may just be, like this big haunted house with a spirit trapped in it and keys that can pop your head open so you could take stuff out. And, just weird stuff like that.
Gee, I wonder where you got that reference from.
I don't know.
Lock and Key. Good series.
Yes. The final book should be out later this year, probably in a couple months.
Awesome. Well, speaking of books, you have a couple books to show off?
Yes. Sort of.
Uh-oh.
Okay. For those who read the first one, Saga number... Oh, move it over. There we go. Saga number 2 is out. It's not $10 like the first one was. This one's going for $14.99.
Still worth it.
But it's still worth it. It's still a great story, and it's not going downhill. It's just picking up from there. The second one I'm going to try is called, this one I haven't looked at yet, is Sweet Tooth. There we go. I'll figure out where the camera is eventually. This one is, we had a huge plague. It wiped out a bunch of people on Earth. And then all the children that were born after that, none of them were no longer human. They were human-animal hybrids. So it's the story of this particular boy and his trip to go find out about his origins and the plague to see if they can find a cure and maybe an answer as to how this all happened. So that one looks pretty interesting. They're up to book 6. That's book number 1. There's the Killjoys, which I have absolutely no idea. I was on page 3 before we had a rush in the store, so it looked pretty. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, I do like the art style on the cover.
Yeah, and on the inside, it's very post-apocalyptic, desert. People have gas masks, that kind of setting.
Good combination.
So, yeah, I'm like, oh, that's always good. We'll start with the Road Warrior. The next one is the issue number 21 for Batman, which is 0 Year. And my first thought was, oh, God, they're rebooting already. But it's not. If you've read The Killing Joke, this is actually the story of the criminals that have those kind of weird red dome faces and where they were and what they were doing. And it's more of a loose, I don't want to say gang, because nobody really knows who each other are. They never see each other's faces. And from what I've read so far, because I did make it through that issue, the person who's running it actually blackmails and coerces other people into the gang. So they never know who he is, but he knows enough about them, and they're usually wealthy or, high-class citizens, that he cons them into doing his dirty work so that he doesn't get in trouble. So it's more of a story of one of the original villains. So far, no superpowers or anything like that, just all mental.
Okay.
The first issue, there we go again, of Superman Unchained is out.
Sweet.
This is the Scott Snyder with Jim Lee team up. And Scott Snyder wrote most of the New 52 Batman, so his story writing is very strong. And then, of course, it's Jim Lee. I mean, not much else I can say about it. It's freaking Jim Lee. I think he was one of my major inspirations to draw when I was younger. And then Guardians of the Galaxy number 3.
You gotta love that cover.
I do. It's Rocket Raccoon. And that one was actually the last copy in our shop. So if you don't have it and you're reading the series, you might want to see if maybe you can start a pull list with your local shop or if they can hold one for you. Because that was the first printing and we're already out.
And you got that in very recently, I would assume?
Within the last, I think it showed up Wednesday.
Oh, geez, that was quick.
Yes.
Okay, then. I like that design. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about several of those. I might have to borrow those next time I come up. Do you actually have any preference? Like, what's your process of like trying to find one of these new comics, or like not on one of the main characters' storylines?
Well, I'll be honest, with a lot of them, George, his opinion, and not just repeating it, everything he's told me tends to be pretty true. If Image releases something, it's worth picking up and looking at the first issue. Just flip through it to see. Okay. Because Image has really become the company that picks up more of the indie artists to get them published. And so you'll see a lot of the storylines that you're not going to find in the major comics. So if you want more of the obscure stuff, like the Dream Merchant is Image. The one about the guy, I think you read the first one.
Yes.
And that was descriptive, the one about the guy. Yeah, I know, sorry, that's great. But the one guy who can't go to sleep, that one is through Image, and there's a lot of other stories that are like that. So for me, since I like things that are a little bit unusual, I always pick up and look at the first issue of something the Image puts out. I'm also very fond of Dark Horse because they do a lot of the darker, more gritty things. And they're also the people that bring over Shiro and the Blade of the Immortal series. So they always have a good mix of stuff as well. When it comes to Marvel and DC, honestly, I just try and look at the first issue of everything and listen to what everybody else at the shop's saying, because they're going to tell you right away. They're not shy about what they like or what they don't like. But the good news is they don't judge you if you say, but I like that one. Then they'll just be like, okay, that's you, but that totally blew, and here's why.
Nerd conversations. Gotta love them. They're one of the only type of people out there where you can literally have these sorts of conversations and both of you will have completely polar opposite, opinions of something, but you could still leave that conversation amicably. You can't really do it with anything else, I can think.
Well, and it's also one of those things where it crosses generations too.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a family that came in towards the end of the day, and it was a mom and her two sons and a family friend, and they happened to live in Sacramento. They were down to visit, and they just participated in a 5K, but it was a superhero 5K. So everybody showed up dressed as like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and they did
cool.
the 5K. And I'm like, I would do that. And she goes, yeah, our whole family did it. It was so much fun. So it's like I could talk to the kids in a conversation and at the same time be talking to the mom while talking to the dad over here. And the conversation crossed the whole age range. Their youngest one was like maybe 7, and then they were in their 40s. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you can have these nerd conversations, and it's not like you're having a culture conversation where, your teenagers are talking about whatever Justin Bieber's latest whatever is, and the parents are talking about, did you read that article about, what's going on in England? And you're like, no, not really.
For some reason, when you mentioned the whole superhero 5K, I mean, yes, that is an amazing idea. But of course, the first image that popped in my mind is just a sea of Deadpools running across.
Which would have been awesome.
Oh yeah, it would have been awesome.
Did you see there was a hospital that they made? I think they were IV bag covers. That had the different superhero icons on them, so they were giving the cancer patients like superhero formula.
Yes,
I thought that was awesome.
That was brilliant. Stroke of genius. Just goes to show, the power of comics and stuff like that. It's great stuff. But speaking of Deadpool,
yes,
there's a game coming out in 2 days. We've talked about several times on the show. There's, finally we actually have gameplay footage. Yes, this is Deadpool making a cake in game. I gotta say, everything I've seen so far looks to be a hell of a lot of fun. The current reviews are stating that while it is a standard run and gun shooter, the comedy, thankfully, not only is it classic Deadpool, but it's not constant. Because it's not trying to force the comedy every single second. There's scenes where he's just going to kill a bunch of people. And then to cap that, he'll end with a scene with him riding a pony or something like that. So I'm really looking forward to this. Comes out in 2 days. It is available.
New release Tuesday.
Yep. It is going to be available on all the current consoles, and it's going to be available on PC via Steam, which I have already pre-ordered. It is $40, but I think it's well worth it.
I hope so, because the comic, I had to drop it off my pull list because it was just, it didn't have that balance.
Oh,
it was just like silly the whole way through. It wasn't like Killustrated or Killing the Marvel Universe where there was intelligence and humor. It was just, yeah.
Oh,
no.
that's
bad.
sad. This one I've heard, good things about, and we've already made the announcements that, Cable will make an appearance, Wolverine will make an appearance, and then there was 3 recent ones that I just came across. First one to make an appearance is actually Rogue.
Oh.
And I gotta say, her outfit, the design with her hairstyle, I don't know. It's very movie-esque.
It is, and I have to be honest, I'm a huge fan of the Rogue that's in the picture behind her.
Oh yeah, that's the one I like.
That was my Rogue. I came in during that generation, so I can roll with the new Rogue. She looks pretty cool. And the old 80s punk Rogue was pretty nice, but the one behind her is still my favorite. I wish they'd gone with that design instead.
Yeah, it would have been nice. I mean, yes, Rogue always has, the bit of the white hair, but that one just seems a little too emo for me, I guess. That's just me.
Yeah. She looks bitchy.
Yeah, she really does. But then again, given the fact this is a Deadpool game, she's probably not all that happy to see Deadpool.
Well, that's true. But Rogue was always... She was very strong, but she was always sweet at the same time. She never really had that bitchy look.
True.
That doesn't look like Rogue.
Yeah. The other one they announced was Domino.
Oh, nice.
So, I think that one is a little more true to form from the comic design, at least in the face.
I have to be honest, that looks very Shiro-esque.
It really does, doesn't it? With the very slim, it does.
I'm like, oh look, it's the Major.
Dude, if the Major popped in this game, I would... Never mind. And finally, Psylocke is going to make an appearance. And I have to say right off the bat, the Psylocke they have for this game is not Psylocke in my mind. That does not look like... To my opinion, that looks like a person cosplaying as Psylocke.
It does, because they reference the old Betsy Bradley in the background. But that costume, that doesn't reflect it.
Nope.
I don't know. They should have gone either with the new look or the old look. But this weird look, this doesn't look like a ninja, psychic ninja. This looks like a slutty booth girl.
That's probably the most accurate depiction of that version of Psylocke that I have heard thus far. This is why I love having you on the show, Nikki. But I'm hoping these, although the character designs are up and down, the gameplay I'm still looking forward to, and you guys better pre-order it. I will be playing it on PC, on Steam, the moment it's available. And I may even stream that a little bit, the first couple levels. And you can watch me suck. So, but it's going to be Deadpool, so I don't care.
Sweaty boob girl. Honestly, as a girl with busty girl problems, I could tell you that outfit, that is probably very accurate. Because you could tell there is no bra underneath that outfit. That means yes. You are absolutely right. That is a sweaty boob girl.
What is the support? The collective will of every man around her. Michael
always jokes that, like, boobs hold men's hopes and dreams. And I'm like, you guys need to come down to reality.
That was what you said, that phrase, verbatim, was recently said in an anime.
That's where he got it from. He saw the still with it. He's like, yes, it's so true. And I'm like, then you need to lose some of those hopes and dreams, dear. Just come on down to reality with the rest of us.
Oh, good times. All right. Couple final things before we wrap up. Let's take a quick laugh at Microsoft, shall we?
Oh, yes.
They came out a couple days before E3 on paper, showcasing all the stuff that's going to happen with DRM. Essentially trying to copy Steam the way things are working. And to be completely honest, in my opinion, if they took out the disc-based games, I think it would work. But physical disc-based games are such an asset to the video game industry right now in terms of the gamers. They really like having something physical in their hands. I think it was a little too soon. But, of course, they probably pulled one of the biggest backtracks in gaming history. Microsoft reverse course on the DRM policies for the Xbox One, dropping not only the 24-hour internet check requirement, and they're also removing all restrictions on used games. And, I mean, Nikki, go first. I mean, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I know I'm the only one out of us that absolutely abhors the Xbox. So for me, their backtracking was bad, because I was like, yeah, the death of Microsoft as a gaming platform. And then they're like, never mind, you're right, we're not going to do that. And I'm like, shit. Hopefully they still PO'd enough people off that they'll move back to, Sony and Nintendo, where I play. But they did what they had to do. I mean, they had to see the writing on the wall. Why they thought they were powerful enough to make that demand in the first place, that really says a lot about where their ego was. But the bottom line, and it's like this with any industry, people, if they don't like what you're doing, they're going to take their money elsewhere. And it wasn't like they had a choice. They had to backtrack or die, is pretty much what it was going to come down to. Because it's getting to that point where, yes, the platforms are starting to carry a lot of the same games. So if you start putting restrictions on your system that piss enough people off, they know that they can go next door, grab a Sony, and pick up that same game. And they kind of had to.
Yeah, I can understand that. And I mean, I know I am of the very minor. I'm part of the minority on this, in the sense that I understood why they were going past. I mean, they were definitely trying to cater to the publishers and the developers themselves, trying to make sure there's more money for everybody. I understand that. There were other ways of going around it. Their online policy, their DRM, the online DRM, doing the same thing that Steam or Apple does, where basically you pay for the product and it's used on your account. It's not attached to a system, it's attached to your account. I was cool with that, because I would like to, if I picked up an Xbox One in the future, and say my other friend, one of my friends did, it'd be nice that I have all my game saves and all my games that I've played on my Xbox One tied to my account. So when I go to my friend's house, I just log into my account and it's all right there. I definitely like that idea. A lot of the cool features, like the whole friends and family plan thing, where you can have up to 10 people in a group that can actually play all of your games that you have installed on your hard drive for free. I think that was a cool idea. That feature's now pulled. A lot of the cool ideas that the whole always-on DRM allowed to happen are now all gone. So now it's just a regular system.
But you know what? For me, that's okay. Because I'm not one of those people where I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm in front of the system every day. I'm running updates 24/7.
Right.
I'm the girlfriend gamer. When I go out in the living room to play, I'm going to put in my disc. Like, I'll be flat honest. I'm going to put Raving Rabbids in, and I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to pick up my Wiimote, and I'm going to play. I don't want to go in there, boot up the computer every day just to make sure my stuff doesn't go away, or, have this camera, this creepy freaking camera that's always on. Because you know what? At 5 o'clock in the morning, when I walk out there in my PJs to feed my rabbits, I don't want that camera knowing. That's my time.
You wake up, open the bunnies. Good morning, Nikki.
Exactly. You forgot to give them a treat yesterday. We saw that. And I'm going to be like, no.
Oh, I mean, yes, there are ups and downs, especially in terms of privacy and the always-on bit and whatnot. If they just turn it around to saying, we'll have the Xbox search for updates when you turn on the system, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I'm willing to turn on the Xbox, and wait a couple minutes for updates and whatnot. Hell, I do that with the PS3 right now. Although, the funny bit, side tangent, with the latest update for PS3, I think it was 4.5, bricked consoles. So it's like,
to know.
Microsoft announces DRM for the Xbox One. Sony announces DRM free for the PlayStation 4. Everyone cheers, and then this latest update bricks PS3, so you have to buy a PS4.
Oh.
They've since pulled down that update, and they say a recent upcoming update will supposedly fix the brick systems. As soon as I read that, I was like, and PS3 off.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm pretty bad. I don't remember my PlayStation Network password. Like, I'm pretty much screwed right now. When I log on as Michael to watch Netflix. That's as far as I've made it. I am one of those people where I usually do not buy a game as soon as it comes out. I will wait until it drops in price, until it's a greatest hit, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And I will go buy the disc, and that's what I want to play. I want to take the disc, put it in the machine, and play it. I don't want to take the disc, put it in the machine, go make a sandwich, go start the laundry, do all this other stuff. Tell Michael not to turn off the PlayStation so I can play the game tomorrow. Like, I don't want that anymore.
Unfortunately, you still have part of that with this next gen because of the fact that even with this update and the Microsoft removing the DRM, both the PS4 and the Xbox One require whatever game that you put in to be installed onto the 500 gig hard drive. So at least one time there's going to be a point where you're going to have to, install and go make a sandwich. Or a turkey dinner.
DC Universe Online. Michael has the game, I should say, for his computer. But he decided that wasn't enough. He had to install it on the console as well. I don't know how many times he installed it, or if it just kept idling out on him, but I saw that install screen for 4 days straight.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, just stop! You already have it. It's on the computer in the other room. Go play it in there.
I will say there's only one good thing that came out with all this news about the Xbox One DRM being dropped. They also dropped region lock. So if a game comes out in another part of the world that you want to play, just buy it. You don't need to mod your system or buy a region-specific system. So that's quite nice.
That's nice.
All right. Enough with the bashing of Microsoft. I'm going to plug something real quick before we get to our what we've been watching because Nikki has some very interesting things to talk about regarding that.
Yes.
But first, I've been talking about a Kickstarter or a deal of the week, and this one is about a visual novel game. So it's actually Mega Tokyo, and this is a comic that's been going on for like 13 years now by author and artist Fred Gallagher. And to say that sometimes he has some problems with timing is an understatement at times. I mean, I love Fred to death and whatnot, but I understand. But he finally got around to saying, you know what? I want to go ahead and make a visual novel based off my webcomic. And it's one of the very few that's actually been picked up and published, not only by DC, but also has been translated and sold in Japan. That's an impressive feat in itself. And
that is.
You can pick up all 6 volumes for online for cheap, and it's well worth it. It's actually a good read. So we decided to work on this visual novel where he's going to put into 3 parts. First part's going to cover the first 3 volumes. Second part can control the second 3 volumes. And the third part, if funded, would actually receive a brand new storyline and continuation. And also is going to be just playable by 2 characters, 2 different routes. He was only asking for $20,000. He reached that in 4 hours. He still has 24 days to go. And he is at, right now, 1,985 backers and has a pledge total of $130,400. So
you're going to get all 3 games is what I'm hearing.
You're going to get all 3 games, yes. And not only all 3 games, I mean, to get the part 3, they had to get up to $150,000. I think they're going to hit the extra $20,000 in the next 24 days. I think they're going to do that.
Sure.
He also added a bunch of extra character routes. It started off with just 2, and then he initially had expansions for up to 7 character routes. He's now up to 13.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy crap. Although he still has one goal that I don't think he's going to hit, and I think it's on purpose. In fact, I know it's on purpose. And it was more for a joke for longtime fans of the webcomic. Is if he happens to get up to $500,000, he must add excessively romantic content, as he calls it. Yeah, he's calling it the quote-unquote blurred stretch goal because he had a... just look up Fred Gallagher blurred and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about.
That is awesome.
So this is going on right now. Some of the really cool higher-up pledges are like for like $2,000. You can insert yourself into the game as a NPC that interacts with characters. And you can even choose which route you appear in.
Oh, nice.
So for $2,000, I mean, it's expensive, but I think that's quite a... You get a good deal right there. He's going to sketch you in, or if you have a character, your own mascot, he'll do that. And it has a bunch of artwork perks. Like if you pledge like I think like $75 or $100, you can get a character sketch. Now, granted, you won't get those till like February because he has many people who've already gone for that, but it's still well worth it. If you just want the one game, just part 1, it's $10. If you want to have part 2 and 3, well, 1, 2, and 3, pick any tier. I think $35 or above. And I think it's well worth it, guys.
Yeah, that's really inexpensive. Considering most people will play or pay about that for some really silly iPad app, that's go for it.
Yeah, very true. I mean, there's also stuff like you get a flash drive with a custom artwork. I mean, there's a bunch of cool perks that he really looked into it. And for those of you who were worried that, well, Fred has problems, getting the comic going, at times due to life, and I know he has a lot of things going on in his life right now, and we completely understand that. He has a whole crew behind him on this, so they will, if anything, push him to get this done on time. So
now you're helping him with this, right?
I am. He did ask me to create the video for the Kickstarter, which is viewed a few thousand times already, which is quite nice. He also asked me to help out on some other aspects of the game that I won't talk about yet. That need to be finalized before I want to announce them. So. But hopefully,
maybe that could be something you ask him for in return, is have your mascot inserted in the game somewhere.
Now I need a mascot.
Well, I just finished my project for Destiny.
I like that one. It was a very nice project.
It was. I left it on the counter when I locked up today, so he'll be surprised by it when he gets there tomorrow.
Ah, yes. All right. Let's close as we always do, and here's the fun part. Nikki, what have you been watching?
Well, I have been watching a lot of Netflix with Michael gone, and I went on a B-rated Japanese movie kick, and I wound up watching the weirdest things. And honestly, it started with I'm going to go turn on Netflix and put something random on so I could take a nap on the couch. That's not quite what happened. So I watched, I think it's Psycho Gothic Lolita. Mm-hmm. It was the first one, and that was very interesting. The character they had playing the main girl, she looked very young until they put her in her costume. Then it was kind of creepy. Something about the wig she wore made her look older. It made her look like somebody in their late 20s, early 30s, trying to dress like a 14-year-old girl, and it was super creepy. But essentially that one is she's hunting down this group of what she thinks are cultists that broke into her house on her birthday and murdered her mother and crucified her on the wall. And of course she fights with an umbrella. Yeah, that's the creepy black wig. Now, the girl on the right is even funnier because they played her as a super over-the-top airhead. Mm-hmm. And she has pistols that have what look like knives attached to the bottom. And through her main fight scene, she's carrying on a cell phone conversation with her boyfriend. And what? I don't know what kind of boyfriend she has, but apparently... Yeah, there's one of the umbrellas. That's the one to fight the girl with the guns. That's the bulletproof one. And it actually shoots bullets as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was pretty funny. So I watched that one. That's right, Yuki. And that was amusing. But at that point, I think I fell asleep for maybe a couple minutes of the final battle. And I was like, okay, well, I got to put something else on now. So scrolling through the list, it's... Mutant Girl Squad, I think was what they labeled the second one. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of like, maybe an X-Men type thing, only it's Japanese. I'm like, sure, let's hit play on that.
How surprised were you?
Oh my God, Michael, you have to come out here. Look at this. Look at this.
Well, case in point.
Yes. There you go.
Now, are they all these, like, cabbages between their... What the hell?
This is one of their martial art drills.
That's a drill.
It's a drill. I don't understand it. They never explained it. Yes, that is the girl with swords coming out of her boobs. The girl in the middle has literally like a monster in her stomach. The one next to it, you can't really see, but under the baseball cap, you see what looks like these little arms poking out.
Mm-hmm.
Later on in the movie, her head pops off of her body, sprouts legs, and runs away.
What the?
Yes. And the girl on the far left, that's actually the main character. She is, the iron helmet pops off during this whole thing. It's something they put on a girl until they realize their powers, and then that's what unlocks it.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually has also the most normal looking, they call them talent. So that's the girl on the right is trying to force the powers to come out of the girl on the left by electrocuting her, because that always works. But it was really funny. It's basically these people were around before current humans, and they're called like weapons and tools and other kind of demeaning terms. And basically the rest of the human population has declared war on them, and they're hunting them down and trying to kill them. And I know you have the other character.
The yellow one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you sent me this picture and I went, really? This is actual scene from the movie.
Yes.
What in the
That is her talent, is she has a chainsaw butt. And she does fight running backwards. And at one point, towards oh god, towards the end of the movie, they inject her with some sort of steroid, and it almost comes out of a prehensile tail from her butt, which is even more interesting.
Oh my god.
Yes. So as you can imagine, it was very hard to take a nap that afternoon. Because that is not what I was expecting.
I love B-movie Japanese flicks.
Yes.
Oh man. I remember there was one that I saw from the trailer and I had to go watch it. I found it on Netflix one night. It tried to do like a very old school American horror trailer. Don't go to the, don't be alone at night and whatnot. And it follows this, schoolgirl. It's always a schoolgirl. It's a dark and stormy night, and she runs across a school, deserted school, into the bathroom, and it ends with,
yes,
zombie toilets. And I'm like, what the
I haven't watched that one.
Oh, it is so cheese-tastic. It's a must watch. Just search for zombie toilet. Oh god. It's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, see, I love the crazy stuff like this when we can come across.
It is. I got a bunch more stuff queued up on Netflix. I don't know if any of it's going to be that crazy though, because that was pretty out there.
You never know. That's
true.
Especially with B movies, they have to try to one up each other. So,
yes,
I might have to watch some of these with you. Oh, that's great. Were there anything else, or?
The only other movie I watched was a serious movie. It wasn't this B-rated cheesiness. And it was, it's written IP Man, but I don't think that's how it's pronounced. I just wasn't really paying attention when they said it. And it's actually the movie adaptation of the story of the life of Bruce Lee's Kung Fu master that taught him everything. And a lot of it takes place during World War II when Japan invaded China. And it was a really well done movie. I loved watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little bit sad throughout the middle with the whole conflict, but at the very end I was like, oh wow, that was a great martial art movie. And then it's like based on a true story, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, they should add after that, not starring the RZA.
Exactly. Oh my god. I admire the man, and I love the fact that he has such a great love for these martial arts movies.
Hell, the
But
Wu-Tang Clan brought so many of these films over stateside
yes, they did.
with
But I
very
swear to
bad
God,
dubs.
I swear to God, I'm fairly certain that you guys went to GI Joe just to watch that like twitching in the middle of the
Oh
movie.
yes. Oh, Schadenfreude was well and apparent that day. I will not did not deny that.
And Man with the Iron Fist was good. He fit in with that one, except they went just way too far.
Except they did the
with the story.
backstory and when they went western. It was like and gone.
Exactly. If they had just written it as him coming into that knowledge and everything else from maybe working the Silk Road or the spice trade, he could have learned a lot of that stuff from, the Arabic people and their early knowledge of math and everything else. He could have learned all of that there. It would have kept the whole storyline cohesive, and we never would have had to bring in this whole, in addition to being this former Buddhist monk, I'm a blacksmith, I'm a, runaway slave. And it's like, there's that point where you got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be every downtrodden person ever in one story. You got to pick one and run with it, and that's all you get.
Yes. Good times. Now, I know I didn't have nearly as an entertaining week as you have in terms of watching stuff. I've been busy with the, like I said at the beginning, the Game of Thrones box set, which I am still very thankful for. Thank you very much. I will get through it all eventually. But I actually got through a game. I actually sat down and played a game, and I beat it all in about 72 hours. And it was BioShock Infinite. And I know it's a few months, past its initial release in March. Oh my god. This game not only had great gameplay, it was a ton of fun, great action, but there was just so many great story moments that was like absolutely incredible. It made you think about a lot of different things, especially in the time in the early 1900s. Like this scene with it takes place early on, so it's not really a spoiler. The raffle, you come across a girl that gives you a baseball, and you have like number 77 on it, and you're confused about why he gave you this number 77. Well, because you're going to be the first to throw a pitch. Well, not at a baseball game, and it'll come up in a moment, but you get to throw baseball at one of these people. Yes, racism was very much alive and well in the early 1900s, and this was actually taking place in that time frame. And you can, of course, have the moral options of actually, throwing it at them or throwing it at the ringleader and whatnot. So you have several options like that, and the storyline, for lack of a better phrase, the holy shit moments are few and far between. The narrative was the best part. If you're looking for get this level, get to this boss, move on to the next level, it wasn't that. The fact there wasn't really a true boss ending, a final boss, didn't bother me whatsoever because the narrative was just so damn good. It is one that, I'll play a game here and there, and usually when I play a game, I'll talk about it, I'll look at some video replays online, and that's about it. I'm already on my second playthrough, and that's a rarity for me. It's that good.
Michael failed to tell me about the racism scene.
Oh, all the racism between African Americans, Chinese Americans that took place in the early 1900s takes place in Colombia, where this is based, the floating city in the sky, and all the moral choices that you can make.
He didn't tell me about that, so I really wonder what moral choices he's been making. I know I've walked in, he's bashed somebody over the head, and the little girl's been like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, "Okay."
The whole moral thing, and I will say this with Elizabeth, the character that follows you around and helps you out. When they first announced that you're going to be, escorting this girl all over the place, I really thought, oh god, this entire game is going to be an escort mission. She's going to die several thousand times. It's going to be annoying. She has turned, not only in terms of story and emotion, to being one of the most one of the biggest attachments I've ever had with a character in a video game, but she's insanely helpful during battle sequences. It kind of helps with the fact that she's not a target that the enemy AI can capture, but things like if you're kind of running low on ammo, or she's running around trying to find stuff for you while you're battling, all the baddies, and she'll throw you salts to increase your powers, or new ammo, or even money, for crying out loud. So that was a big relief, and it's so worth it. I cannot recommend this game enough. It's an amazing game. I think you can find it online for sale for like under $30, so well worth it.
Nice. Yeah, I know Michael has it, but I think it's also a first person, right?
It is a first person game, yes.
Yeah.
It's one of those that I know Michael, he's good with that on the PC, not so much on the console.
Well, and for me, it's a matter of motion sickness.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of amazing games that I can't touch. I try periodically to see if maybe it's worn off and I'm okay, but yet no, it doesn't.
Well, maybe I'll be able to find like a best of online thing, and I'll link that to you so you can see that.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
the person that puts the character, the car, whatever it is, that has to be in front of me. I can't do the first person anything.
It's funny. I'm exactly that same way, but it comes to racing games.
Yes.
I can't do the in-car shot. I can't do that.
Which is funny because you do it in real life every day when you're driving.
That's the oddest thing. I can't correlate between the two, which I still find it funny. I actually, on a side note, I give massive praise to the Gran Turismo series for a number of reasons, but especially for the fact that that was a game that actually taught me how to drive stick. When I bought my first car, my Toyota Matrix, it was a stick. And at that time, I only knew video game stuff, and I told myself I was going to force myself to learn stick. So between buying the car and playing Gran Turismo, I learned in about 4 days. My clutch hated me afterwards, but...
I have to say that is my biggest geek moment, was the reason I have a stick shift has absolutely nothing to do with ever driving a stick shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't from Gran Turismo, because I would always put it into automatic mode.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the entire 4 seasons of Initial D in the course of several weeks, and then I was like, yes! I know what I'm buying. And I looked up all the nice cars. I'm like, I have no money for those cars.
No.
And I'm like, oh, Honda. Honda's good. Oh, hey, one of the guys has a Honda. I'll go get a Honda. And initially, I was just going to buy a 4-door Honda Civic. It was like base price was $13,000, was doing great. Mind you, that was in 2004, before car prices went through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
My stepdad talked me into my current car. He's the one, he's like, well, you should get this one. It's the Rally Edition. The stick shifts on the dashboard. It's got everything you want. Yeah, sure, it's a hatchback. You can't really fit your friends in it, but that's okay. Get this one. So I did. He had to drive it home from the dealership. That was really great for my ego. I'm like following him in this big old pickup truck, and he's like doing 80 down the on-ramp. And then I had to spend the next 30 days leaving work about an hour early to make it 3 miles down one straight road to get to work, because I would inevitably stall at every stoplight I hit.
Oh, I did. I remember driving around those 4 days and like freaking out going through the residential, not going to the main streets. There was one point where I was getting out and going, it's going a little slower than normal and everything. I'm stopping, it dies on me. Turn on again, try to go into gear, dies on me. And there's like a bunch of kids like about 100 feet down. They see me there and they go, hey, you want me to get that for you? I'm like,
You're like,
what's going on?
"Shut up."
So I look around, I'm like, the parking brake's still on. Drop. Yeah.
I did that, and it was really embarrassing because I did it in front of my parents. We were both leaving at the same time.
Oh, no.
And it's like the heat on my car just skyrocketed, and I pulled over, and they're like, you okay? And I'm all, yeah, click. I'm fine.
All right. Well, we can keep on talking about this forever. We may continue on in the post show, but it's been an absolute blast, Nikki, having you on the show. And you keep on draining my wallet because I keep on wanting to buy all these comics you keep on telling me about.
Well, that's why I had to start working at the comic shop, because it was draining my wallet too.
Okay, very true. Now you found a way. Now I need to find a local comic shop so I can do that now. All right, guys. That's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Stay tuned for post show, and yeah, for From Mother's Basement, on behalf of Nikki, I'm Jason. We'll see you guys next week. You guys have yourself a great week. Have a good one.